Good morning, everybody. I can tell you're enjoying each other's company. Welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living, where we're absolutely convinced that life is good. Because, who said, oh yeah? Excellent. So we know that there's one presence, one power in the universe and in our lives, and so just that gives us a foundation to rejoice and be happy. So we are celebrating that today. Hi, Kathy. And we have practitioners in our service, and they're anchoring our time together. We are also streaming, and so a special welcome to you if you're in the home audience. We're glad you're tuning in, but you're missing it right now because there's so much love in this room that people really tend to love each other a lot. You're surrounded by lots and lots of beautiful people. I see Karen's mom is here, so just that is exciting. There she is. And so let's all stand up and say hi to a few people. And if you're close to Karen's mom, say hi to her.
We'll turn to the reading this morning. There are two readings. Both are from Ernest Holmes. The first, Spirit is at the center of each one of us. To it we may come for guidance, and from it we may draw both inspiration and the power to live, stand, walk, or sit. And the second is, the indwelling God is the greatest single factor in our whole lives. It means that there is nothing between us and God. There is no intermediary. There is no place to go to find God. God already exists in the midst of us, and if we try to seek Him elsewhere, it would be like asking God to hunt for Himself. God is not lost, and neither are we. Not lost or separated from God. The more completely we are able to see God in everything, the more completely will the one God in all things respond to us.
Well, good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Bill.
How you doing? Good, good, good. Let me tell you a little bit about what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to be chatting about intention. Going to talk about intention and the power of what that's like in our lives. Sometimes if we don't set intentions, we fall into a couple traps. One trap would be sometimes we conform to what's around us, what we see, what we hear. And then sometimes we get caught up and we may try to cover up and be cool, and we get caught in that trap and no real transformation happens because we're so concerned how we're looking. So I want to talk about those, and then I'm going to talk about three strategies that we can use so we can bypass all of those. So let's begin by just taking a nice deep breath. And I'm going to encourage you to set some intentions as we begin. And I'm going to encourage you to set the intention to hear the inaudible and to see the invisible, which means you are awakening certain faculties within you so that you're hearing beneath my words, because divine communication is taking place. And I'm not talking just about what I'm saying, but I'm sure you're hearing voices in your head already, right? I mean, we're talking a lot, and sometimes it's just our small self-talking. But I want us to, especially over the next hour, to elevate that and really open our minds and open our hearts to receive divine ideas, to receive revelation, to receive intuition, to receive guidance that's beyond what I'm saying and certainly beyond what your little self might be saying. So does that make sense? Because as we do that, if we set the intention, we pull away from the physical world. And the physical world makes lots and lots of noise. And so by just setting that intention, it really does change everything. And it empowers us to do what the world might think is impossible to do. But it is possible once we begin to operate from our central divine core. And so that's what we're talking about. And so setting an intention is important in a service like this, but it's important to do every single day. It's like having a tuning fork, and you strike it and the sound goes out. And so as that sound goes out, it activates certain divine qualities in you. Divine qualities like love, peace, creativity, joy, bliss. So it activates and engages those things. So if you're not feeling those things, and especially expressing those things, it may be time to go and get alone for just a moment and strike that tuning fork as a reminder of your intention and a reminder of who you actually are. Because you have so much potential in you. You have so many possibilities in you. The possibilities within you are absolutely endless. But in order to reach those possibilities, it means we have to go within. In order to expand, you've got to go within. You expand, and then you do it by going within, and then life begins to change around you. And so that's your true identity. And so you're setting the intention to hear beyond the ear and to see beyond the eyes. And that takes you into a transformational, I love this word, vortex. So you enter into a transformational vortex, and your life really does begin to change. And it lifts you up and transforms how you see life. Growing up, there were lots of superstitions around me. And maybe you have grown up with superstitions. And a lot of times, we continue to live with those superstitions, thinking, well, you know what superstitions are. Sometimes, I don't know, how many of you have a rabbit's foot with you? Well, I'm just kidding. I don't think any of you would. But, poor rabbit. Sad. There's a rabbit underneath our back porch. I tried to bring it today so I'd have one, or two, or four. But I bring the whole thing. I'm not just bringing a foot. I mean, that's a little bit sick, isn't it? A little crazy. But, superstition, and sometimes we talk about luck. There's a blues song that says, if I had, what does it say? It says, how's it go? If I didn't have bad luck, I wouldn't have any luck at all. Then there's a Rod Stewart song that says, some people have all the luck. Some people have all the luck. And so sometimes we talk about luck. We wish each other a lucky day. Good luck with that. And often that's kind of built on superstition. I heard someone years ago talk about luck, and they kind of divided the word in L-U-C-K, and they said it means living under cosmic knowledge. And I really liked that. And so, of course, I wrote it down, and I remembered it for a long time, and I thought someday I'm going to talk about it, and today's the day. So you get to hear about that. So living under cosmic knowledge. Because, we don't want to die with the music still in us. We want to be able to express. We want to be able to lift others. We want to access our potential and do wonderful things in life. And to do that, we don't need luck, but we do want to be living under cosmic knowledge. And I know, even though we were probably trained as children not to do that, we were trained as children sometimes to play small and almost be afraid of life. What if I make a mistake? I don't want to reach out too much. I don't want to dream too big because I don't want to be disappointed. And so, sometimes we pick that up from the physical world. And I think when we do that, we begin to conform to the physical world. You see, we have the choice. Either we can conform to that high divine cosmic knowledge, or we may conform to what we see around us, to what people are saying and situations and personalities. And when we do that, we surrender our own leadership. You never surrender your leadership. Never surrender your leadership. And remember, you're not a puppet, you're not a pawn, and you're not a peon, but you're a person. And as a person, you're an individualization of spirit. And so you want to live like that. And in order to do that, it means you would want to live under cosmic knowledge. Otherwise, the nuances of life and the memes and the viruses that are floating around can throw you a great deal. Somebody said, and I think it was this past week, I heard somebody say, people really aren't so afraid of death, they're more afraid of living. And I think that's probably true. We're afraid of what might happen because, we're just kind of doing everything we can so we can finally get to death and say, whoo, I'm glad to get out of there. And so instead of that, we want to open up and see life as an absolute adventure. And even at my age, which is moving along at this point, looking back, I'm not haunted really by the mistakes that I've made. If I'm haunted by anything, it would be missing certain opportunities. Maybe an opportunity presented itself, and for some reason I didn't take that opportunity. Isn't that how you feel? And so it's not about mistakes or mistake, like making a movie. Mistake. Oh, it's just a mistake. You can just shoot the screen, the scene over. You can just do it again. Get it? Yeah. And so what we really want to be involved in is living life fully and being open and being excited about the adventure. And so spiritual, powerful living is living under cosmic knowledge. And that's a training. I mean, it doesn't just happen automatically. It's an awareness, and that means we have to develop the awareness. We have to look at it. But each of you, and me, all of us in the same boat, we came here with gifts, and some of us haven't even unwrapped them yet. We brought gifts to give to others, to lift others. That's your purpose. And some of them are still stacked in the closet, all wrapped up. So you got to unwrap the gift so you can bestow it on other people. We don't want our lives to be forged by situations and time. We want our lives to be forged by the decisions that we are making and letting those gifts fly, giving to those people, giving the blessings out to other people. Even, I've mentioned before, you're driving down the road and you do drive-bys. And the drive-bys, as you drive by someone you bless. You think, well, I don't really like that neighbor over there. He said this to me one day. And so now you do drive-bys every time you go by. And you say, bless him, bless that home, bless his grass, bless his trees. And you're sending those blessings out. Because when you're living like that and you're just a dynamo, you're a dynamo spinning. And as you're spinning, you spin out blessings. You're not a dynamo going backwards saying, I wish somebody would be nice to me, please. You're not concerned about that because you realize you're full of God. You're full of life. You're full of joy. Almost sounds like a sermon, doesn't it? And you're spreading that out. You're giving that out to people. So that's what it means to live under cosmic knowledge. It means open to insight. It means open to intuition. It means open to revelation and guidance. And it means you come into alignment with it. You can come into alignment with anything. You can come into alignment with what the news is telling you. You can become into alignment about Mr. Trump's hands and what that could mean. No, or you could come into alignment with the divine. And you see, you can really come into alignment with anything. You can create a story that you've told, what happened to you when you were 7 or 9 or 12. And you can come into alignment with that and you'll feel that. And you'll almost reproduce that again and again and again. It's like having a button stuck on repeat, and it repeats and repeats and repeats. And it's a waste of time. It's a waste of time. I've heard things like that in my own head. And if I spend time with that, I'm just wasting my time. I'm just spinning my wheels. And my packages in the closet that haven't been unwrapped yet remain unwrapped because I'm going in a circle. So we want to come out of the circle. We want to choose what we're focusing on and be living under cosmic knowledge. If you happen to say to yourself, I'm such a loser, and then you turn to cosmic knowledge says you are wonderful, you are divine, you're high, you're holy, you're beautiful. And so which one you want to go with? You see, and that determines what you produce. What you produce, it even determines how other people feel around you. So it's so important. There's one mind. Cosmic knowledge tells us there's one mind, one power, one presence, one life. And you can call it by a million names, but it's one. One. And what we want to do, living under cosmic knowledge, means you align yourself with that one mind. Now, I know you think you have a mind. Not so much. I mean, you have a little ideas and little judgments and little paradigms and little things that you sometimes think you build. It's like building a little tiny castle. You build a little tiny castle thinking that you're separated from God, and so that becomes a law within itself, and you begin to experience that, and so your life is teeny tiny and small. Worry, doubt, and fear. But that's not really a mind, that's just a bunch of beliefs that you've pulled together. The one mind is spirit, and that spirit is expressing through you unless you get caught up in giving your attention to something else. So that's why we set the intention. We set the intention so we can give our attention. We set the intention so we can give our attention to cosmic knowledge. That's what we're doing. You know, and I know sometimes we've kind of been suckered into thinking that thinking that we have, I have my own mind. Not so much. I mean, because it's called mentation. Mentation is you think you're having this great thought, and you forget you've had that thought every day of your life, and it doesn't really take you anywhere. It's not really thinking; it's mentation. It's just repeating. So, what am I talking about? Oh, I'm thinking about the ocean. I'm thinking about the ocean, and so the ocean wave is riding along. And it's thinking, man, I am all this. Look at me. Watch me do my thing. Thinking that it's all separate from the ocean. But if the ocean should dry up, that little wave would evaporate immediately. And the same thing is true of us spiritually. You are divinity expressing. You are divinity wrapped in a blanket. And you look around, you got some really good-looking blankets in here. But you have to remember the real truth is divinity. That's who you and I are. And so spirit is as close to you as you're breathing. It's not like you're here and God is out on the other side of the Milky Way and you're saying, hey, I'd like to ask you to do something for me. I need this, I need that. It's not like that at all. Spirit is closer to you than you're breathing. As we used to say, closer than your hands and feet. And so spirit is in every place, in its fullness, and that includes within you right now, even expressing as you right now. And that may not sound practical, but it's hugely practical, because if you begin to give your attention to that, you relate to people differently. You relate to life differently. Everything in your life absolutely changes. Yes, Karen and I play guitar. And when we play guitar, the first thing we do before we play is what? We tune. That's right. Thank you, Wise Dusty. We tune up, because then we have a standard that we're tuning to. And that's what I'm talking about. Living under cosmic knowledge means you tune to that cosmic knowledge. You tune to spirit. Otherwise, you're like the radio station that's bouncing all around. You got to tune in to what you're wanting to create. So living under cosmic knowledge. There's two kinds of knowledge. There's knowledge that informs, and then there's knowledge that transforms. Now, I will admit that I like knowledge that informs. I like reading books. I like going to the bookstore. I like listening to certain things on television that are educational. I love knowing, about animals and life and the planets. I love all of that. But that has no transformational value. So we're seeking the knowledge that will transform us, that will change us. And so that means we don't want to simply know about God. If you know, by the way, Andy Ross is here, my beautiful reverend friend. Is he did he leave? He probably left. Is he here? He's way in the back. Hey, that's nice. That's nice. I mean, you're in the very back, and I'm in the very front. We can send vibrations back and forth. Well, he is somewhat a theologian because he's been going to divinity school. And it is wonderful to study about God and study theology. And I've done some of that. It's wonderful, isn't it, Andy? But what we're wanting to do is explore the other knowledge. We don't want to know about the thing. We want to know the thing. We don't want to know about God. We want to know God. We want to experience it. It's like riding a bicycle. You know, you can read a book about it. You can watch a video, but to really ride that bicycle, you're going to have to experience it. So that's why we're talking about spirit is close. We're talking about guidance and intuition and those kinds of things. And so I'm really talking about being a mystic, metaphysical, going beyond the simple physical. So that means we have to make a new agreement with reality. Your life is the result of the agreement that you have with reality. So you're wanting to make a new agreement with reality, which means you consciously would want to do that. And you set that intention. There's a big difference in what you know and what you believe. I've been exposed to thousands of beliefs, and so have you. Beliefs are handed to you. When I was a little kid, my mother tried to take my pacifier away, and then she would say, well, that's not good for you, Billy. That would be very offensive to me as a child. I was about 6. And so I said, well, Mom, I need the pacifier. And then she would say, no, it's getting too late. And what does that mean? What does that story mean? It means that as children, lots of beliefs are given to us. A pacifier doesn't mean anything. It just popped in my head. But it means that beliefs are handed to us. So we're like little sponges, and the beliefs are given to us and by caretakers, by parents, by teachers, by other people, and we just accept them as beliefs. But a belief will shatter in a crisis. Do you know that? Probably most of you have lived long enough to know that. But a knowing doesn't shatter because it's something you know. It comes from within. Beliefs come from without. And so you're wanting to know. Knowing is extremely important. Knowing. I know a few things. I don't know a lot of things, but I know a few. And probably you know a few. And that's what gives us the power to really live life. Because it cannot be shattered by a trauma if a trauma occurs. And it comes from within, and it's actually woven into not just your head, but it flows through your blood system. It flows through the cells of your body, the things that you know. There's no doubt laced in with a knowing. Could be with a belief. So I'm really talking about faith, because faith is defined in the Bible at least as certainty. It's something that you absolutely know. And so that's a mystical experience, because that's going to be beyond what you pick up with your ears. That's going to be beyond what you can see with your eyes. It goes beyond that. It's a shift. It's a big, big shift. Walking Bull, none of you probably know. But he said, he was talking about true power. He's a Lakota Sioux, and he said, in the Lakota world, we call it Takuskan. And what that means is an energy that moves inside of you. He would say it's an energetic fire that moves inside of you. So when you're meditating, when you are studying, when you're reading, especially when you're quiet, or maybe when you're with nature, because nature can be a gateway to spirit, but when you're getting quiet, that's when that fire begins to move in you, and that's where knowing comes from. Knowing comes from those kinds of things. So as you engage in spiritual practice, that's how knowing begins to develop, because as you engage in spiritual practice, you're planting seeds, and then the plant comes up, and the plant tells you that you know certain things. That enables you to face death with no fear. It enables you to make decisions and know exactly what you want to do, because it's coming from within. Okay. All right. Do you know who you are? Do you know what I'm looking at, Mayor? Do you know? I'm looking at divinity. I'm looking at divinity. That's absolutely who you are. You are an ambassador for the Most High God. And so can you imagine? You're the ambassador for the Most High God, an instrumentality through which transforming knowledge comes through you and blesses and changes the world. That's who you are. So can you imagine you hanging around with your hands in your pockets saying, Well, I don't know. I'm kind of scared. I don't know what might happen today. I don't think I'll go outside. Something might hurt me. Can you imagine that? I mean, even the voice doesn't sound quite right. It's like an Elmer Fudd voice. I like to do Elmer Fudd. Oh, I'm very, very scared. Can you imagine the ambassador of the Most High God being very, very scared? Or saying, what are you thinking about, ambassador? And the ambassador says, well, I'm thinking about one time the potty training wasn't done properly and I didn't get an M&M at the right time, and I'm very upset about that. Can you imagine? Now, I'm not making fun of trauma from the past. I'm not making light of that, but we want to deal with that, close that thing down, and begin to move forward because you're here for a reason. You're here for a reason. Andy, how am I doing? Okay. So, one trap is conforming to the world. So we don't want to do that. Conforming to the world means it's like you cut a dress pattern out, which I often do. You cut a dress pattern out, you lay it on the floor, and you look at it, and it's a pattern that's designed by somebody else, and you lay down on it and say, it's mine. That's conforming to the world. It's pouring your life into a mold that you did not create. So you don't want to conform to the world. You want to set the intention. You're going to listen beyond the ear. You're going to see beyond the eyes. And so now you're plugging into that divine knowledge. Guidance and intuition is flowing. But then the second trap is, and I will just tell you, and I'd rather you not tell other people, but I'm into cosmetics. I have studied cosmetics for years. How many of you believe it? No. Oh, okay, nobody. No. Okay. Well, you're right. I have not. But I do know that people who are walking on the planet sometimes look really good. They look together. They look cool. But if you could open up and look inside, there's tremendous pain, and there's chaos, and there's agony. So what we often do is cover up. Cosmetic comes from a French word going back to the early 1600s, and it means basically to cover up so that you will appear beautiful when you really weren't that hot. And so it's covering up. It's putting a mask, a lovely mask on, so that everybody will think everything's good. You know, we meet here at a place like this and we say, how are you? Good. And then if we're talking to somebody that's spiritually astute, they may say, how are you really? And of course we say, real good. And some people would call that being phony. Some would call it being fake. Now, not in a gossipy kind of way, but understanding that's how the person would feel. The person would say, I feel great, everything's wonderful, but inside they may feel phony. A psychological phrase for that is the imposter syndrome. You feel like somebody's going to find out. They may find out today that it's all just made up. And so we live sometimes like that. I would call that the cosmetic experience of life. So what we want to do is go deeper than that. We want to be able to have integrity, which means we're whole and we can express what's happening inside of us. Because as we move through life, we have insecurities. And just about everybody, if we talk to everybody in this room, no matter how spiritually advanced, there's some insecurities floating around, some inadequate feelings, some not enoughness, maybe some trauma from a past event, and yet we're trying to put on a good show. And so we want to be able in some way to deal with that, because when we cover up like that, we're living in a state of pretense. And if you're living in a state of pretense, you're not going to feel good. You're not going to feel authentic. And so you're losing all of that beauty that can come through you by just shifting just a little bit. And so, and I'm going to, let me get into the strategies. Strategy one, I'm going to give you three. Strategy one is when you wake up in the morning, and I think the morning time is a good time. And so you wake up in the morning because it kind of sets the tone. So you wake up in the morning and you say, open mine eyes that I may see. You wake up and say, I want to see today. I don't want to just see with my eyes. I want to really see. I want to see what life is about. I want to see what my family's about, what my loved ones are about. I want to see the truth. Jesus, when he said the truth will make you free, the Greek word was aletheia, and aletheia means reality. I want to see reality. I want to see reality. And then as you do that, you'll begin to see new ideas will come to you. Revelations, insights will come to you. You'll look at people differently. People may say something that's very negative to you, and you look at them and you are overcome with love. I mean, you think, God, I love that person. I love them. And they're saying, boy, you're a jerk. You're a dumb guy. You're this or that. And inside, instead of reacting, you're thinking, I love that person. I see spirit in them. And then just beautiful things begin to happen. And that happens because you've said, I want to see the truth. I want to see beyond the limited perception sometimes. And so you begin to see life in a new way. Why? Because you've set an intention. You've said it out loud. You wake up in the morning, open my eyes so I can really see the truth. And it's important to see the truth, see what's real, not realistic. Because the realistic world, you turn on the news, that's the realistic world. Realistic means real like. It's not real, it's real like. It's almost like a little hologram thing you're watching that's not real. And so the realistic world is where there's lack and limitation and scarcity and hate and fear and separation and bigotry and homophobia and all of those things floating around. And so you don't want to live in that kind of world. You want to be in the real world, and the real world is what? The real world is love. The real world is peace. The real world is that everything around us is of divine origin. So that is the real world. So number one, you wake up in the morning and you look at the clock and you say to yourself, open my eyes. And then number two, strategy number two, embrace and transcend. Embrace and transcend. Energy, we know, cannot be created or destroyed, but it can be transmuted to a higher frequency. When you have worry, doubt, fear, a sense of inadequacy, insecurity, all of those are frequencies of thought. Frequencies of thought. They started as opinions, they turned into beliefs, then they turned into convictions, and then ultimately they became your experience because that's where you were living, inside that little tiny box. But now you're coming out of the box and you're looking at those lower frequencies, and you are not going to cover up and ignore them. You're going to do what? Embrace them. Embrace them. But when you embrace them, you want to be high. And I don't mean chemically high. I mean you want to be high from the perspective that you know who you are. Because if not, you'll look at one of those lower frequencies and you'll just jump in with it. So you're not going to do that. You're going to look at it from the perspective, I am an ambassador for the kingdom of God. I am divinity. I am up here looking down at this little frequency, and I'm going to just put my arms around it and give it a hug and say everything's okay. And so you're seeing it from that high perspective. That's when your greatest pain will become your greatest power to bless and change the world. It's true. I'm thinking of an example. I'll give it to you real quick. An example of, I was raised in an alcoholic home, and so I learned as a little kid to walk in, and I could size up my dad. I could feel him before I got in the room. I learned to do that because it was necessary. So I would feel, is he in a good mood? Is he going to kind of knock my head against the wall, or is he going to give me a hug? What's he going to do today? And then I found out, if I'm speaking to a group, I can't see any of you because of light, but if I could see you, I can kind of feel you anyway, but you can feel, I can feel what's happening around me in people. Why is that? Well, because there was great pain there, but it turned into a great blessing. You see how that works? So your pain can become your greatest blessing in helping or lifting or even helping yourself. So it's right there. So you embrace it, and then you transcend it. You transmute it into a higher energy. I could say more about that, but I'm not. I'm just going to stop with that. But you know what you're doing, I saw a church today that had redemption. And that's what you're doing. Redemption means you take those thoughts and you redeem them, you requalify them, you transmute them, you lift them up. You don't fight them, you don't hate them, you don't cover them over with lipstick, but instead you embrace from the place of your divinity. And then you transmute them and you transcend the whole deal. I would say more, but I can't. Number 3. Third strategy is you declare and live. Declare and live. You are a prophet. Say that with me. I am a prophet. So as a prophet, you can prophesy over your own life. You can prophesy and say, my life is not so hot. But you don't want to prophesy that. You're going to prophesy, my life is beautiful. My life is good. My life is a blessing. And you begin to prophesy that, and it comes to pass. It comes to pass because of who you are, and it happens. And so you declare that. You make a bold declaration. Let's go to your bed. There we are in the bed. I'm not in there. You are. And you're sleeping. And you wake up. And as you wake up, you have a choice. One thing you could do is this. You wake up and you say, wow, I wonder what's happening in the world today. Probably a bunch of junk. And there's not much love. There's not much peace. There's not much joy. I wonder what I have to do. I have to have these meetings. I don't really want to meet with those people. I don't really want to sell that product. What's going to happen today? And so you live that way, and that's called mediocrity. And you can do that. And you're letting the world tune you. You're tuning to the world. But instead, that's not what you do. You wake up and you say, this is the day the Lord has made, and I am going to be glad and rejoice in it. You say, I'm going to be transformed by the renewing of my mind. It's amazing how everything works out for my good. I'm setting the intention right now that no matter what happens, I'm going to say, welcome. Whatever happens, welcome. I know you're bringing me something good. Right now, it may not look so good, but as I look at this, there'll be something good. It's almost like if somebody's really irritating you and bothering you, you know, and some people do that to you. When you're doing that, what the message really is, if somebody upsets you this week, this is what I want you to hear. They go yak, yak, yak. And what you hear is, what they're really saying is, show me God. Show me God. And that's what it's for. See, when something comes and tries your patience, it's really just saying, give it to me. Show me the love. Show me the peace. And so everything is helping us grow. Everything is helping us be higher. And so don't wallow around in your history. Remember, you are a history maker. And you're living in heaven right now. And heaven means ever expanding good. It's just getting better and better and better. And so with that in mind, let's take just a moment and get quiet and tie all these things together. So I want to ask you to close your eyes, please. And as we go within, and talking to ourselves, we say, open my eyes that I may see. We say that. We make that stance. And we drop the cosmetic use spiritually, so there's no more cover-up. We dismiss the old stories. We've learned what we need, and so we let those stories go. Waste of time. We let them go. We transmute the low frequencies into higher ones. If the low frequency keeps nagging us, we stomp our foot and say, out of here. I'm in charge here. I'm the leader of my life. Out. And you place your attention on something beautiful. The power really comes after the commitment, and so you make the commitment to joy. You set the intention to peace, to love, to creativity. And when you set the intention, you make the commitment, the good comes. Always does. You don't even have to talk that much because of who you are. You walk into the room And people say, who just came in? Because they feel your love when you walk in. They feel peace when you walk in. They feel compassion when you walk in. And that's because you've set the intention. That's because you have set the intention. It's amazing. And so silently answer the question, and I'll ask, are you willing to drop that old story? I know you've had it for years. Are you willing to drop the old story? Yes. Are you willing to be whole? Yes. It's just a decision. Yes. Are you ready to receive guidance and revelation? Yes. This is such a wonderful place, a great community of people. We lift each other. We see the beauty taking place in each other's lives, and we support each other. This is a new story time, a new life song. The sacred power of the Sangha, the gathering, the love we have for each other, that helps us be lifted even higher. And as a community, we confirm that we've made these kinds of decisions by proclaiming and shouting out loud, and so it is.